That was the wrong intro, Robbie.
That was the wrong intro.
It's all good. No, screw it. We're just gonna go. We're just go.
Wait, hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Uncutt Podcast.
Second time's a charm.
Oh my god.
I was half tempted. I was like, we could probably shoot this to Dark Graves and he could edit it out. But I think it's classy that way.
You know what? It just shows that I'm not running things. And it just makes sense. So Roberto, how are things? How's life?
Very good, man. I did it on purpose, man, just to give you a little prod to get that computer fixed, Maglio.
Well, I gotta buy a new one. That's what it's come down to. So unfortunately, that means for at least the next two shows, Robbie's in charge of the technicals. So let's see what happens, everybody.
No, man, I'm good. Good. How are you?
I'm making it, man, slowly but surely.
Yep.
Dude, just working. That's all I've been doing. But also enjoying the show last weekend, Southeast First. Partially sponsored by your boys and new IWTV World Heavyweight Champion AC Mack, friend of the show. No relation to our guest tonight, as far as I know, but we can clarify that later.
We'll have to.
But I will say this, and we don't like to spoil our guests in advance, but I will say in the next couple weeks, the champ will be here. Me and AC have been talking all week. AC Mack will be on the Uncut podcast. I think it's in 2 weeks. I'll check the dates, but he'll be here.
You were there, dude. Phenomenal matchup.
I was actually not there, unfortunately.
I'm just all full of misinformation and errors tonight.
I thought you quit drinking, Robbie, but maybe I was wrong.
Maybe I should start again.
My mother-in-law, who was going to watch my kids, had COVID. My wife had the flu, so I had to stay home with the kids. It happens, but I did watch everything on IWTV. I've now watched it twice through on IWTV.
Right.
Gave me some ideas for some more guests we could have for sure. But definitely, man, it was a killer show. If you haven't watched Southeast First on IWTV, go out of your way, take a couple hours out of your night and watch it. Legitimate bangers, top to bottom. Everything on that show was good. There was not one match that I watched. I'm like, yeah, okay, I can get a piss break. None of that. It was
fillers.
Dude, no filler. All killer. But dude, speaking of killers.
Before you guys gotta throw one thing at you, dude. You watching the Royal Rumble this weekend?
I will be watching the Royal Rumble. Our good friend Matt is currently on assignment at the Royal Rumble. He's there with infamous opinionist, our friend of the show, Comic Punk Guy, McCruber. There's a whole gang of wrestling TikTok creators there. Matt will be representing the Uncut podcast. Speaking of which, and I will have the link in the Uncut podcast Twitter bio and TikTok bio. Mm-hmm. We are now part of the charity merchandise sales for Alex's Lemonade Stand and the Cauliflower Alley Club. So you can get the first ever Uncut Wrestling Podcast t-shirt with the logo designed by our friend Comic Punk Guy. Like I said, I don't have the link memorized, but I'll have the link in the Twitter and TikTok bios. I'll shoot it to Robbie so he can put it on the Facebook.
Sounds good.
Because man, you can get, I think it's there's t-shirts and decals. So if you want some stickers to throw in your car, your notebook when you go to school, whatever you got, we got those too.
That's cool, dude. That's pretty cool.
And like I said, all proceeds go to Alex's Lemonade Stand for childhood cancer and the Cauliflower Alley Club, which obviously we truly support all wrestling ventures around here. So
absolutely, now
definitely check that out.
A few moments ago, you mentioned killers.
We got a certified bona fide hoss tonight. We got a dude that legitimately I used to watch. And you know how some guys you watch wrestling and you're like, okay, he's tough. Then you watch certain dudes like Rodney Mack, our guest tonight, and you're like, nah, Nope. If I see that dude in the bar, I'm standing on the other side so I don't piss him off. But ladies and gentlemen, let's talk to him. Ladies and gentlemen, Rodney Mack.
Great video. Great video.
Shout out to our boy TJ Vegas for making the video for this man here, Rodney Mack. Rodney, welcome to the Uncut Podcast, my friend.
Welcome, dude.
Thanks for having me, guys. Glad to be here.
Hey man, we're so happy to have you.
Seriously, man. It's an honor. I said it before, but I'll say it again. Honor to meet you, my man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Like I said, man, hear a lot about you guys, man, and it's a privilege to be here to chit chat with you guys.
Yeah, for sure, man. We every week I say it. I'm just like I try not to just turn into like full Mark mode as soon as like the guest comes on the show.
It's hard though. It's hard
It
though.
is hard.
Larger than
But,
life personalities, but dude, always find out they're really down to earth people. So man, it's gonna be a good interview.
Yeah, for
Right,
sure.
right.
So Rodney, I'm gonna ask you the same question we start with for everybody. What was the moment in your life when you knew you wanted to be a professional wrestler?
Oh man, that started. I tell everyone the story about I have a younger brother that's 4 years younger than myself, and I remember my father and I dropping my mother off to the hospital. She was in labor to have my brother, and we went off to watch Andre the Giant wrestle in a handicap match.
Awesome.
Yeah, buddy.
Hardcore right there.
Oh yeah, I mean, I always knew that in the back of my mind that pro wrestling was who I wanted to be, or was what I wanted to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about being a wrestling fan. That's a great memory about Andre the Giant. Can you tell us some of your favorite wrestlers, some of your favorite promotions that you started watching as a youngster, which kind of built up your desire to be a wrestler?
Right. Oh man, I can remember. I'm guessing it was Mid-South was the name, but like I said, far back as 74, 75, 1974, 1975. When I'd watch guys like Grizzly Smith. Well, Akbar was wrestling at the time. Guy by the name of Johnny War Eagle, Ken Patera, Bruiser, Bruiser Bob Sweetan. So yeah, I grew up in that era there, and just continued watching wrestling. Of course, like us back in that day, we didn't have all this different networks here and there. We had one or two stations, television stations, and that was it. But Mid-South Championship Wrestling was the thing we grew up on. And later on, the 70s and the 80s, I remember the guys like Bill Watts era. The Ernie Lads and Dusty Rhodes and guys of that time. So yeah.
So what were your earliest memories of training, and how did you actually get into training? Because I know obviously back it's not like today where you can find a wrestling school every 20 miles. What was it like back then when you started?
Actually, I ran into it was about, I want to say, the summer or the spring of 1994, 95. I was playing football at the University of Arkansas, Monticello, and it was right before the Christmas break. And I remember going to Walmart to get some stuff anyway, and JYD was there signing autographs. And when I walked in, we had a conversation. He looked at me and said, "Hey, big guy, come over here," and yada, yada, and asked me if I was interested in pro wrestling. So I told him who I was and where I was from, and Lafayette, Louisiana. And boy, he lit up, and we got to talking, and It's so ironic, but again, it's not because Lafayette is a real small town. And anyway, my mother, on my mother's side, she had like 17 or 18 brothers and sisters. And just to say, JYD happened to know an aunt of mine, and so that's how the Uncle JYD came about. So yeah. I met Dog there in Arkansas, and then like I said, telling that story, and then I think it was maybe a month so later that we went home for the Christmas vacation, and I ran into him there in Lafayette, and so he was stationed there in Lafayette, Louisiana, and started his school there, and so we hooked up there, and I started training with him there.
So prior to meeting JYD, were you already wise to the business? Were you already smart to it, the working part of it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Can you maybe tell us a little bit how that veil was uncovered to you?
Well, and then again, I really, really had no idea. I was a wrestling fan. I believe. So yeah, and I played college ball. And again, I'm about 25, 26 years old when this is all said and done. And I came in to pro wrestling with it's real, and yeah, for the longest time, I think I'm still trying to work on that right now. But yeah,
kayfabe's still alive, Nick. I'm telling you.
Yeah. But and again, I trained with guys from that era that still, kayfabe, was very heavily believed in. Like I said, the Agbars, JYDs, Rugged Rod Price. So with my style and me believing in everything, I think that played a very big asset into my very early success.
So I asked this question on Twitter in like the DMs to a friend of mine the other day, because the conversation I have, I did like really low level indies in Tennessee for like 15 years. And I've always wondered other people's opinions on this. Do you find it hard to watch wrestling now because you know the inner workings of the business? Like, can you still watch it as a fan, or is everything critiqued in your brain?
No, it's almost impossible to watch it as a fan, and it's almost impossible to not critique it, because it's just totally not the same business that I came into. And what I mean by that is that it's not just the style. Style isn't I don't know. I don't like to use that word style, because that's not it. It's just no psychology. It makes no sense whatsoever. There's no storytelling.
It's like a cookie cutter. It's like they just cookie cut everything.
Right. On top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the glory days. Can you tell us about your first match?
Oh. Well, my very, very, very first match was, of course, no practice whatsoever. I had about 2 weeks of getting inside a wrestling ring. It was across the street from the University of Arkansas, Monticello, at a high school. And some guys were running some outlaw promotion. And I went in and I got some, I went to that same Walmart and purchased a singlet out of the women's department, a black singlet. That's what I wore. Yes. But needless to say, that was horrible.
Yeah, and you weren't billed as Rodney Mack back then. You went by was it Red Dog at that time?
No, it wasn't even. It was just my name, Rodney Begner. Yes. Sir.
Oh, gotcha. Old school.
Sir. Yeah, that was before Red Dog. Yeah.
So Matt's not here, but I want to ask a question that he always asks, because I like it. He's not here to ask it. So what is your pre-match ritual? Like, what are you doing? I mean, obviously there's stretching and everything, but is there headphones? Is it just a lot of pacing? What do you got going on before a match?
Yeah, I guess I'm a little different, but I guess not. Yes, the headphones go on, and that's just an example. I start getting ready, man, honestly, a couple of days before the show. I start getting in the zone, slowly, but it's just thinking about not even who my opponent is. That's the least of my worries. Is just becoming my character and what I'm gonna do and what situation I'm in. And I've already had my match 1,000 times before the show. Before I actually have the match, before I actually know who I'm wrestling against. But the closer it gets to the match, man, the the more I become Rodney Mack, which is really just a slight extension of who I really am. You know, so yeah, I get the headphones on and I think about my past and I think about how bad I really want it. And I still want it, and I'm still as hungry as I was the first day I ever got into business. So that's I'm a very self-motivated person. So I'm born and raised on a pit bull farm, on a gamecock farm. So all I ever knew was fight, get ready to fight, prepare to fight, training, competition. So I get in the zone, man, and I listen to gangster rap, and I'm, the ghetto boys, and I'm a hard-hitting, wig splitting. Yeah, I'm bloodthirsty, all that shit, bank robbing, bad mofo, all that shit. Yeah. So, and I try to bring it to life,
Yeah. Speaking of blood and guts, early 2000, you make the transition from the Independence to ECW. Can you tell us how you were recruited to ECW? It seemed like a perfect place for you.
Yes, man. Very early in our careers, I'd say 8 months of us training and actually having a couple of matches. Rod Price is the guy that's responsible actually for us going there. Rugged Rod Price had I don't know, a tryout, or he had a show booked, and I think they were around the Alabama area, and Rod just told me and Jazz both to let's go check it out. And so initially it was for me, to go and try. But and I know we're not here to talk about Jazz, but there's just that situation happened. She was just in there, actually my manager, and just there to support me. And someone asked her, would she get in there? And she asked me, what was my pay? And I was like, hell yeah, you're here. So anyway, she got in there, and that's the history of how we got started right then and there. We both, after the tryout, Jazz, of course, had a tremendous tryout with Jason, and myself was with Chris Chetty. So we both did pretty well, and then Paul Lee came down and invited us both to move over to New York and come on there and join the House of Hardcore, and and the rest is history.
Kind of a follow-up question on that, if you don't mind, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Paulie Dangerously, Paul Heyman, dude, can you shoot on him a little bit about what kind of guy he is, what kind of a person he is to work for?
I know a lot of people, everybody's got their own personal opinion about different people, but with my experience with Paul, I love Paul like a big brother. He and I had some real personal issues that happened in a good way. That big fight that broke out, if you guys remember, at the pay-per-view in LA, I was one of the first guys to run out there and start throwing hands in defense for ECW, which I had not even had a match. And I was traveling with them and working Atlas and on the ring crew for about, man, I want to just close to a year before I ever had a chance to work or get a shot. But anyway, I think it was my dedication in showing him how much of a team player that I was. Because even though that I was, everybody knows the story, man. I was the mule on the damn on the wagon, And even though I was, and I felt very, very mistreated, I was the first guy to go up there and throw a punch for the company, and one of the last ones to leave. So I don't think that's where I know Paul and I had that relationship. That's why I gained his respect right there.
I know we're not here to talk about Jazz. It had to come up. What was the origins of that relationship? Did y'all meet through wrestling, or was it just one of those things where you both had, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, it did. It was through wrestling. When I came down, JYD was here, and I don't know how. I think Jazz just heard about him being here, but Jazz was in Memphis, and she some kind of way just came down and met Dog. But maybe like a month or 2 months later, I ran into JYD again somewhere, and so we hooked up. And when I went to train with Dog, Jazz was there, was roommates with Dog. She had just got there, like I said, maybe 2 months or so.
Awesome. Right. So during while you're in ECW, I take it that's about the time. Let's see, in 2002, you go to OEW, and that's after the invasion angle, the buyout of WCW and ECW. What was it like being a pro wrestler at that time?
Oh man, it was at the time we just looked at it as, oh man, it's crowded. There's a bunch of competition, and I mean it was like a dog eat dog world. It was very crowded, and God, the I think that was the apex of pro wrestling. There was never been that many, group of talented guys right there at the same time, just all wanting a job, vying for the same job. So at the time, we didn't see it that way, but when we step back and look at it, it was like, wow, man, we actually survived that whole deal, of the best of the best of the best, and still being able to walk down that aisle. So just being able to be on a roster of that magnitude, walking down that aisle one time, you've accomplished a whole lot.
Well, while you were in OVW, you were there with some big names. I know you tag team with Shelton Benjamin, but that was like the same kind of time period. Like, I mean, it wasn't like Brock Lesnar there and John Cena.
That's where that was the time of all the guys. John, Batista, the whole Bobby Lashley was just coming in. Brock was out there,
Lesnar.
Right? Mark Henry was there time and time from recovering from injury.
Yeah, when you were watching those guys as newbies, you'd already kind of been in the business for a little while. Any of those guys stand out to you that you can remember going, that dude is going to be something huge?
Man, and it's not to be, to be honest with you, just about all of them were, because everybody was about tit for tat. And I mean, when you looked at them, of course, it goes without saying they were all great athletes. And I was fortunate enough to play football, and I was on the football field with a lot of great athletes that made it to the NFL and first round drafts and all that. So, I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I think I know what I'm talking about when I'm saying great athletes. And when I walked in that room, it was just everywhere.
Yeah.
Hungry guys, humble guys, good looking athletes that were, So it is not a surprise that anybody made it that high.
Yeah, I mean, look at John Cena today. I mean, he's making $1 million $100 million movies and stuff. Brock Lesnar's WWE World Champion. I mean, those guys, man.
Right, that was the cream of the crop, man. That whole group.
To that same end, though, do you feel like there were guys, and maybe even including yourself, that kind of got lost in the shuffle, where like you clearly had the talent, you have a character, you're built like a brick shit house, you got everything going for you, but there's that. Did it ever feel like there was a kind of glass ceiling? I hate to use that term, but
yes, and I mean, I don't know. I guess it's a double-edged sword. I mean, when you got so many guys, that is, so many talented guys or whatnot, somebody's got to get overlooked. Not saying they did it on purpose or didn't, but whether it been me or this guy or that guy, somebody would have been left out, I guess. But to me, in this business, there's room for everybody, and there's room for exactly that, because each guy's an individual, and this business is based on being different in characters. So I don't know. In my opinion, that there's a place for everyone in this business if you have what it takes. And evidently you have what it takes if you're on that level already. So you wouldn't be there.
Yeah. So how did you get along with the talent agents and stuff? How was the transition from OVW back to SmackDown?
Oh, I never ever had an issue with like agents or talent or any of my supervisors or advisors or any bosses. I never ever been that way ever in my career as an amateur or in the pros. I'm a very coachable guy. I'm one of those guys. If the coaches ask you to run through the wall, shit, I'm going. No questions asked. So I never have an issue with authority.
Yeah. Mind if I throw another one out there?
Go ahead, boss.
Yeah, I just kind of curious. You just brought up coaches, dude. Probably the biggest coach in WWE would probably be Vince McMahon. Well, what was it like meeting him for the first time? Any interactions that stand out to you with Vince McMahon that you had with him?
Just meeting a guy on that level is just who he is. He just has that aura, it's intimidating. He's just a very intimidating, not the way he, and he carries himself. He's a very confident guy, walks with his chest out. So he's an intimidating, guy to be around. But, he spoke to you, he'd speak to you. I was just never one of those guys to always be I don't know how to say that, a brown nose or what. Yeah, I ain't with that shit.
Yeah, we know
If the man needed something, I'm sure he'd have got the word to me to get what he needed done. So, yeah, I'm not a. Well.
It doesn't seem like that would be your style, yo.
No, not the least.
Yeah.
So when you make it to Raw, they start you with Teddy Long, and you were doing the White Boy Challenge. Whose idea was that? And do you feel like it got cut off too early, or was it just one of those things that was supposed to build to something else?
Well, I think you're right. It was supposed. I mean, it had to end sooner or later. I feel that it ended way too early. Of course, maybe that's being biased, but I think the ball was just really starting to roll with it. And going back for I think it was Vince McMahon's baby. He came up with the idea, as far as I know.
Bringing up squash matches, dude, we were talking about the way the business has changed. That's one of the things, that I think WWE dropped the ball with a lot. And that was the squash matches, making the enhancement talents. Like we had Barry Horowitz on a few weeks ago. Those guys that put guys over and managers and stuff like that. What do you think about that?
Meaning?
What's your opinion on how there's not really squash matches anymore? There's not the job guys, the enhancement talent.
Well, so therefore, maybe I'm way off on this, but maybe that's why they're not mega superstars or real superstars, because nobody will put anybody over.
Yeah.
And anybody who's somebody, had to be put over by somebody. So I mean, that's just the way our business works.
Yeah. They kind of brought back squash matches for a minute with like Braun Strowman, which was, for a guy like me, like kind of was a nostalgic thing. I just wish they do stuff more stuff like that, dude.
Right, and it's easy. I mean, a guy gets squashed. Well, it's all in how you bring him back. It's not what he did last match. It's what he's going to do the next match. I mean, you could easily bring him back from that by his next performance or a couple of performances. But the guy that squashed him, he's just being pushed right now. I mean,
right.
He's just on fire. He's just hot. It's just his time.
And the jobbers, I mean, if you look back at WWE history, dude, jobbers that I remember watching as a kid were like guys like Mick Foley, Shane Douglas. Those guys were jobbers, and then they went on to become big stars.
Right. Well, those guys were, the jobbers were the carpenters, the mechanics. These guys were. That's why they were there, to put over everybody, because they could get themselves over at the drop of a dime. Dale Wolf, Dusty Wolf, who's a great friend of mine, a big brother of mine. Yeah, and go back and watch some of his stuff. You don't give a damn if he won or lost. Yeah. He's so entertained at him putting everybody else over. Nobody cared if he won or lost,
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And I feel, of course, that's what's missing, because without those mechanics, man, you can't build anything,
Yeah.
I just loved it. We got the term carpenter used on this show. That was my trainer's favorite thing to call guys, just carpenters. I was like, yes, because they can build anything. I love
it. Sir. That's right.
Oh man. So what were some of your favorite memories of being on the main roster? People that you like to hang out with, or people you had good matches with?
Man, that was bringing in pro wrestling in itself is just me. I'm living the dream, bro. It doesn't matter what company I wrestle for, big, small, indie, or Japan. I'm always having the time of my life, man. In the locker room, the boys, the family. It's just the atmosphere. I just love what I'm doing, man. And everywhere I go, I try to bring that spirit with me. So, yeah, I just love the business, man. The good and the bad, the rough and the practices, the big shows, the shit shows, the whole nine. Because, man, it is what it is, and it's a process, all this stuff. and I learned to enjoy the process, and that's what it's all about, man.
Can you shoot a little bit about the Undertaker and what it was like for him as locker room leader? I've asked this question to a couple of other wrestlers. I'd like to get your take on what kind of locker room leader the Undertaker was, and maybe you could give us some insight if you witnessed any trials or the Undertaker laying the Smackdown on anyone or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I could honestly say, man, I never witnessed him doing anything like that. He just has that level of respect. Anytime he's around or people know he's in the building or whatever, it's like the principal's around. You know, they're gonna carry themselves right. They're gonna they won't cross that line. But he was never a guy that pushed around his weight or anything. Not that I ever heard of or have ever seen. He just was a very well respected guy by his attitude, and I guess he led by example. You know, he would never ask anybody probably do anything he wouldn't do, but again, he led by example. The guy's never late. The guy's, you know, he was the epitome of what a leader is, and should be.
Yeah. What about like the big ego guys that were there around that time? Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair. Any thoughts on those guys?
Again, I never really, and I'm not saying that to sugarcoat or hide anything, but I never had an opportunity to be around those guys ever acting that way or being that way. Ric Flair was a great leader. Again, he was always the life of the party in a good way. You know, he was always tell some jokes. You know, if we were on a tour bus or whatever, he always had a story. It was educational one way or the other. But I can't say anything, you know, and even Hulk Hogan, and I know some people may look at me sideways for that, but I've never seen him act a certain way or whatnot, you know. He always showed respect to me and Jazz the 2 or 3 times, the few times that we had interaction with him. He's a very, very cool cat.
Cool, dude. Thank you.
So to that end, talking about Hulk Hogan and people looking at you sideways, you don't have to name names if you don't want to. Did you ever encounter anybody that was a little bit racist in the locker room, and how did you deal with that kind of shit? I mean, obviously,
no,
being in the South.
No, there might have been some guys. Sure, there was some racist guys in there, but they never act racist towards me. And I'm not trying to sound the baddest man.
That's probably their smartest plan.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, you know, everybody knows I had just personal issues like towards Bubba Ray, and but it was never no racial deal. I didn't have anyone that ever crossed the line and disrespect me that way, or anyone else of another race.
I'm not sure if it was 2002 or 2003 or 2004, but you just brought up the Dudley Boys. You guys had a big match with them at Bad Blood. Was that? Were you guys having beef then? Was there heat between you guys then, or was that after?
Yeah, a little. I just never did ever since the ECW days. I just never, you know, Bubba is just not a guy that rubs me the right way. He's just a bully. He's an asshole. He just thinks his shit don't stink. Yeah, all that, you know. Yeah, so I never did care too much about him. And he, you know, them feelings just was brought upon, I mean, the way he acted. Outside of that, I didn't have any personal reasons to not like him, but he's just a prick.
I don't think you're probably not alone in that. I think I read that somewhere recently.
I think he's literally the third guest to say that. So I know Paul London said something very similar. I feel like somebody else did too.
It's got to be true.
See, that's a good guy, man.
Yeah. He was a great guest to talk to. Yeah.
Good people, man.
Yeah. Paul London had no filter.
Yeah, no filter.
No.
Yeah, he's like, what are they gonna do? Never hire me again?
All right.
Oh man. So I know you're still working indie shows. I actually just watched you on YouTube the other day. Actually, like a week before I messaged you about booking you for the show, I saw you on a show on YouTube. That was put the idea in my head. I'm like, I gotta figure out how to get in touch with Rodney Mack. And then By the way, Rodney Mack, the easiest booking of all time, super chill to talk to. But
Appreciate it, man.
that being said, are there guys on the Indies today that you feel could have survived when you broke in, or is that generation just dead and gone now?
Man, I really don't think there's that many left, man. No, I really don't see too many at all. Because they're not tough. They're not tough skinned. They're just, yeah, words hurt them. I mean, and it's like nowadays people feel they what's the word, that they're entitled.
Entitled, yeah.
I know we all thought that we should have back in the day when I was paying dues and busting my ass. Yeah, I should have had it, but I had no issues with busting my ass. I still do it today. I work the average 20-year-old. I work his ass in the ground. I have got no issues with busting my ass, getting mine. But man, these guys, oh my God, I've just never seen it. And it's not, I mean, not just my guys. Everywhere you go now, it's the same story you hear.
It's like we've talked to a couple independent promoters, and we've talked to a lot of guys, and a lot of them have the same opinion that when you can put down $3,000 and go to a wrestling school, train for a couple months, and then you're out there, and then you're all of a sudden you're a pro wrestler, and and you're still working at Walmart, you're still working as a lawyer or construction worker, but back in the day when guys like you started, dude, your job pretty much was being a pro wrestler.
Oh yeah, man. Eat it.
9 to 5.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's a big difference with wrestlers today.
We talk about this with our students all the time, Jazz and I, and like we told you, we had this conversation earlier when the first time we had a tryout with ECW, we had only been in the business combined training, and one match or something, 5-6 months.
Yeah.
But the time we lived in the ring, not just in a gym, we stayed in the ring. Well, it was just us. We didn't even have coaches, and we'd be in there sometimes, and it's like, what are we gonna do? Well, this is a tribute to why Jazz was such a great technical wrestler. All I knew, I've been wrestling on the mat since I was 8 years old. So I go to practice, and there was no one there but me and Jazz. So I'd grab her and do some Greco-Roman shit. So we stayed in the ring, and that's all I knew was the chain wrestling people know now, or catch as catch. We were doing that without knowing that's what we were doing. I was teaching her the wrestling part and right the whole time, man. So anyway, long story short, that's how we always talk about that. I think people think we lie when we tell them how much time, minutes, reps we actually would put in the ring, because it was only me and her. But we're in the ring 2-3 hours lifting, and then 2 or 3 hours in the ring afterwards.
Grappling.
Yeah.
I think you're up, Robbie.
Let's talk 2007, 2008. You transitioned from pro wrestling to mixed martial arts. What kind of transition was that? Now, I'm hoping this ain't the Joe Namath from the Jets, but in your debut, you beat this guy in like 21 seconds. You beat Joe Namath from the Jets. 21
man. Yeah, he went deep, man, and he wasn't looking, and I picked him off. Yeah. No, man. I love MMA. That's another part of me. I grew up fighting, so that was kind of, fighting and wrestling. I grew up doing that, so it just was a natural fit. I was looking for some stuff to do, man, right after the WWE deal. And I even talked to Paulie a little bit. He was going to send me to Philly. So he had some contacts in Philly to fight in the cage. But we had some family issues that had came about, some personal issues. So Jazz and I had to step back and go back and help family on both sides. Shortly after that, both of her family members, her mother and father got sick and passed away, and then my father as well got sick and passed. But that's what kind of brought us away for a real short time. But Jazz as well had got pregnant with the twins, which kind of, I wasn't able to spend as much time as needed to fight on the UFC level. I messed around and played on the independent level and was having a blast. But in order to get on to be the real deal and compete for a championship, right. I needed to spend more time and do it the right way, and I couldn't because of personal issues at the time.
Gotcha. Somewhere back in there, let me see. Back in like excuse me, I got notes here. Like around you had a 2000. Let's going back a little bit. Can you tell us about your knee injury that kind of took you out in 2003?
Right. My patella got not only torn, but it exploded in 3 different places. Yeah. I was in a match. Mark Henry and I were working with the shit, Hurricane and the shit, Rosie.
Superhero
Hero in training.
Superstar, yeah, superhero in training.
Yes. And I remember Hurricane was on the top rope and he was going to go for a crossbody, something. And I think someone hit the rope and he kind of fell short. And as I turned, I was going to catch the crossbody and turn it into a power slam, but he fell short. And so I went forward. And as I went forward, it's caused me to put stress on my knee. And at the same time, if I would have turned, I felt that I would have spiked his head. So I kind of just, kind
Protect.
Yes.
You kind of instinctually kind of made the decision.
That's exactly right, man. Yep.
Yeah.
Last second, I felt it instinctively. I turned my upper body, but my feet stayed planted. Yeah. And that thing just went off like a shotgun. Yeah.
So with the twins, do you ever see a place where they would go into wrestling? Would you recommend it for them, or is the business so far gone where you kind of talk them out of it?
No, I would never do that. I feel I'd be a hypocrite. Jazz and I had paved the path for them, and we're going to do the best that we can to help guide them in that way. They take the proper steps and do the right thing. We have one of the twins. They both participated and started training, but only one stuck with it, Sky. Summer decided she was going to take a little break. She wasn't sure if she'd come back to it or not. But Sky is sticking with it, and right now we have her refereeing, done old school with it. We're teaching her. She's had a match like 4 or 5 months ago, her first little training match. But since then, we took her out of actually wrestling, and letting her referee and understand and work on psychology and all that stuff. But she trains every night with us as well. I'm teaching her right now. We're not bumping her. Again, we're going back to the teaching the way Jazz and I, like I taught Jazz with straight Greco-Roman wrestling, and let her body develop a little bit before we, because those bumps. You only got that card. It's a small card. They didn't tell me the card was that damn small.
I thought I was gonna be able to do that shit forever.
Yeah, it said here's your bump card, but I was, fuck. I thought I had a bump card.
They gave you a Post-it note.
Yeah, bump chip.
So to that end, do you feel like that's how more people should be broken in, doing smaller things on the show, working backstage, working as a referee?
Totally.
That's how I started, was as a referee.
Man. And then you understand, like by saying that, it's just like you understand, you can comprehend what's being said around you, and just everything. It's I get it. It's
ring positioning.
Right.
People don't understand ring positioning. That's like William Regal said, ring positioning and footwork are like the 2 biggest things. And if you can get somebody to understand that, they can do pretty much anything in wrestling. Right?
Yes, sir. And that's the 2 basic fundamentals right there. We teach and preach on. The rest of that stuff, I really don't teach a whole bunch of different things. I always teach the fundamentals and the foundation of pro wrestling, which number 1, footwork and ring positioning, which footwork and ring positioning will always account for your timing, you being on time. People think timing has nothing to do with speed, running around like that has nothing to do with timing. Being in the right place at the right time is what it's all about, and you do that through footwork. Yes, sir.
Kind of go back just a little bit. Let's talk about Dirty South Championship Wrestling, or Down South Wrestling. That was a promotion that you and your wife started, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can you tell us? So what's it like being on the other side of the book, if you will?
Oh man,
Book-
well, it's we always understood it because again, when we were broken into the business, the first thing I never forget it, we were handed a flyer, go out there and promote the show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, then that's
The
how
original promo, the flyer.
yeah, that's right. You go out and put flyers out, and this is so you started learning that way, and like he was saying, from the inside out, well, I kind of got lost. Bring me back to where were we again?
Oh, just
talk about working backstage at shows versus being out of the ring.
Oh yes, and being
Yeah.
on this right. So it's not real a shock to me because again, when I was broken into business, this is the way we did it. So I kind of always understood. But being
like
able
what?
to
Like you mean like you were like kind of like you were kind of part of the booking because like you worked with the bookers and did
side by side. Well,
Yeah.
really the promoters, right? And which really 9 times out of 10, the promoter was the booker, or it was
Mhm.
that. But you're right. We put out the flyers for the promoter. You sat there and was an assistant to the booker when he needed you. A gopher. Go for this, go for that. Yeah, whatever he needs, that's what you were there for. So when you kind of learn why you were going, what you were going for, go for it for.
Yeah.
So and then by the time we started running our own show, we kind of had an idea and a clue, had been on both sides of the fence already.
Yeah.
So we had Matt Griffin from Action Wrestling on here. Well, technically, it was 2 weeks ago we filmed it, but it aired last week. Anyway, it was long,
Time
the whole
traveling.
weird stuff. Time travel was weird. He talked about sometimes letting the wrestlers not know about moments that are going to happen.
Oh yeah.
Making announcements, announcing matches, future cards, things like that, and letting a real reaction happen. Are you more of a fan of that, or do you try to let everybody know what's going to happen as much as possible so they can be prepared?
No. I love spontaneous reaction. Oh, look, I do it, and the guys know me. They watch me now, but I used to always, I tell the guy, you're going over. You're going over. Yeah, and they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out when you
tell
get
them
there.
both you guys going over. Oh, yeah, and they get out there and get yeah, man, it's nothing bad ever happened. It was always good. It was always a spontaneous reaction, and it's the feeling is real. I never put anybody in a bad situation, though. You know what I mean, or done anything to where, the outcome would be their health or anything would be jeopardized. It was always just an easy deal, like nothing complicated.
Talk about 2016 class action lawsuit against the WWE. Concussions. Can you tell us how you got involved in that? And if you just want to shoot on your thoughts on that matter, I'd appreciate it.
Right. And I can't speak much on it, but here's the truth of it is it had nothing to do with concussions or anything like that with Jazz and I. It was about being mistreated.
Mhm.
We still feel that. I mean that we it's not feel. We still don't know the day why the hell we were let go. That's all we ever asked for. Why? And then it would have left it alone. But it had shit to do with me taking a concussion. Man, I get hit. I'll go buy the chair for them to hit me with, and I ain't one of them bitches put my hand up. So it ain't. Hell no. It had nothing to do with my work environment in a physical way.
Yeah.
No, it was just them, mistreating us in that particular way.
Yeah.
Rodney just became my favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
Just I'm not one of the bitches that puts my hands up.
Yeah,
just made my heart so happy. So, who are some people you do like to work with these days? Obviously, you're still working indie shows. Like I said, I just saw you a couple weeks ago. Who are some people you like working with now, and people that
stand
bring
out
out
to
the
you,
best in you, stand out to you?
Man, I'm fortunate to still be able to work with best friend, man. Still great friends with guys like Charlie Hoss, Jax Dane, down here with the Teddy Lones and Mark Henrys and guys that we still kept in touch with over the long haul. I just love working with anybody who wants to do the right thing. Booker has some guys here in the Houston area. kid by the name of Houston Carson down in College Station. I work with those guys a lot. A guy by Papa Don in Austin runs AAPW. No, he's been around a while. Good people. And so I work with those guys, and they have some pretty good schools and do pretty well with their schools. So what I do is especially with Papa Don, I go around there and maybe see a few of his guys that may need some polishing. So Jazz will take them, and Jazz and I take them, with us for a little while. And which one of them, a girl by the name of Jasmine Allure, top tier Jasmine Allure. She comes from AAPW. So yeah, we have a great relationship with just about all the DFW, Lamont. We have a great relationship with just about all the guys out there. And we love the fact that they respect us enough to, if they have students that when they're done with them and they need to try to go to the next level, they contact us and send them to us so we could polish them up. You know what I mean? Try to the little ins and outs and dot the I's and cross the T's and try to help them get to the next level.
What do you think about what Thunder Rose is doing in AEW these days?
She's doing great, man. Matter of fact, she was a part of the Dog Pound with us for a while.
Yeah, sure.
Well, and then of course that she was with the NWA.
Memphis or Louisiana? Was it Memphis?
No, it's actually here in San Antonio just a few months ago. Right. Okay. So not long ago, when Thunder Rosa was with NWA, she had signed, or she was with us. But then when she signed the deal to AEW, of course, her schedule got a little bit more occupied. So therefore, she had to stop.
A little tied up now.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's a great person, man. Great guy, great girl, and her husband Brian as well.
So what are your goals now, man? I mean, you've been to the mountaintop. You're now a big. I mean, I still say you're a big name on the indies because I see you everywhere.
Yeah,
absolutely. I see you on shows all the time, still training people.
You're on
what
Uncutt.
Goals do you? Yeah, you're on our show, which I mean,
that's it, man.
Yeah. What are your goals now in the business and outside of it?
Oh man, honestly, just number one, to keep pushing and stay as healthy as I possibly can and give back, man. Just give back. But to continue to write my legacy. I'm not finished. Jazz is an agent with the NWA, and a knock on wood, I just got a little break with him again myself. So yeah. So man, I'm being honest with you guys. I feel better than I have in the past 6, 8, maybe 10 years. So I'm gonna be crazy that we didn't push it till I can't push it no more. But in the meanwhile, I'm gonna try to. We're working with TSW also. We have another promotion, TSW in Dallas, and Dog Pound Championship Wrestling here in San Antonio. So our deal is to try to make those two independent companies there very successful, and a breeding ground as well for other big places. We want to be that developmental, in which we are now. We work with guys from all over the area, and that there's people coming up to us from Russia, from Czechoslovakia, from different places to train with us. And so that's what we want to be. We want to be a developmental for pro wrestling, a polishing spot.
I gotta say, your NWA spot, those were some absolute fucking soup bones you threw on Jack's Dane, and I was like, that looked real, and I loved it.
No, I appreciate it. Well, if you ask Jax, you need to get Jax on here. He'll tell you it was real.
Slip him our number, man. You got my number now.
Yeah, yes.
I'm gonna mail you some business cards.
Look it up, man.
Yeah.
Nick's a glutton to talk to anybody. Just throw anybody out his number. Anybody that you think.
Yeah, man. But yeah, that was a good deal. And man, Jax, like I said, we go way back. But anyway, when that little deal happened at 1-2, and when he fell on the ground and I looked down at him, man, he was all full of blood. He had blood all over his neck, and I was like, oh shit. First night on the job, they're gonna send my ass backpack.
He done knocked out the former champion.
Yeah, I am on the top dog, and Yeah, they gonna kick my ass out here. Don't unpack.
I got one more question. Well, it's in 3 parts. You still watch the product, WWE?
No, sir.
No.
No. Every now and then, I'll listen up for some Bobby Lashley or Shelton and see what's up with Brock. But I just peep in and out.
Yeah.
No, I don't watch the product.
Yeah, so I guess it's moot to ask who you think's going to win the Royal Rumble.
No, I don't have a clue.
I'm just gonna go Shelton Benjamin and hope I don't make you angry.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
No, not at all. But I didn't even know that's how much I pay attention to it. But shit, if I'd have known he was in it,
Is he in it?
I'm sure he will be.
Yep.
He'd be a great pick. Yeah, man. Going back, what a great athlete, what a great guy. Yeah. But I'm serious, man. I've been around a lot of talented people. That guy's got all the talent in the world, man. What a super athlete.
Yeah, he's. I've obviously being a wrestling fan, you talk wrestling with a lot of people, and he's always kind of like one of like the first couple names that comes up when they're like, "What's one guy that didn't get used enough?"
Yeah,
Shelton Benjamin is
right,
and it looked like he was like he had the rocket, and then they were like, never mind."
Right,
like that's never happened before.
Yeah, it happens to all the wrong people.
Right. Yeah, but that's definitely a tragic one for sure.
Yeah,
it is, man. Yeah.
Well, Rodney, we're hitting up on close to an hour. Our last segment, as always, we give you full screen, let you push your socials, push shows you got coming up, or just send a message to your fans, man. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. An absolute honor. So much fun too. I love this
seriously,
part.
dude.
Yeah, again, thank you guys for having me on, man. And I just want to say, well, January 29th here in San Antonio is a big show. The Teddy Long Classic, the first ever Teddy Long Tag Team Tournament Classic. He will be here himself, crowning the Tag Team Champions. And we run here once a month here at the Woodlawn Gym. Our next show will be February 26th, and we will have the one and only Iceman, King Parsons. Along his side will be Reggie B. Fine, one of Memphis's own finest right there, baby. Reggie B. Fine. And guys, you can contact us or keep in touch with us at Dog Pound Championship Wrestling at gmail.com is my Gmail. And you can also visit us, Dog Pound Championship Wrestling and TSW Network. That's right. And Facebook, you can look me up at Rodney Begnaud, Begnaud. So thank you guys. Much love to all my dogs out there. Keep supporting. And hope to see you guys Saturday at the Woodlawn Gym. Come holler at Teddy Long, player.
I think it's great that Teddy Long's going to do a tag team tournament.
Of course he does.
And Iceman King Parsons, dude.
You said Iceman King Parsons, and I don't know if you can see it, but I literally freaked out. I grew up watching World Class every Friday at 3 p.m. So like Iceman King Parsons just freaked me out, bro.
Yeah, man. Rudy
All right.
Rodney Mack, thank you so much, man. You have a great night, and I can't tell you again what a pleasure it was to talk to you. And we always say this to our guests, dude. There's always room for a part 2, so we'll be in contact, dude.
Yes,
that's what's up. Much love, guys. Thank you.
Peace out,
Rodney.
Peace out.
What a cool dude! Iceman King Parsons reference. It popped me. And Reggie B. Fine, bro.
I saw you.
I lost it, bro. I heard Iceman King Parsons. I lost my mind. Because that's a dude I'm trying to get in touch with. Rodney, if you're still here, get me Iceman King Parsons' number.
Please. We have money.
We don't care. Oh, dude.
What a show, dude.
Yes.
That was awesome. Yeah.
We will be back next week. I'm not 100% sure who with. Not even going to lie to you people because we are always honest with you here at the Uncut Podcast. We don't know who our guest is next week.
Well, we had
somebody planned and we had to reschedule.
We had a huge guest plan, and that guest it wasn't necessarily canceled as it was postponed.
It's postponed. The guest we were supposed to have next week.
So we're looking to fill that spot.
Let's just say his schedule got a lot busier last Friday. So
I wonder who.
Yeah. But yeah, he'll be here, I think, in 2 weeks, I think was what we agreed on. So next week, we're going to be back. We're going to have somebody keep up with all the socials, the Facebook, the Twitter, the TikTok. Facebook, Uncut Wrestling Podcast. Twitter and TikTok, Uncut_podcast. Keep an eye out. We'll have an announcement. It'll be good, whoever it is.
Yeah.
Even if we just, it's just me, Robbie, and Matt talking about wrestling. We'll be entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
He'll be fresh off the Royal Rumble. Who cares?
Fresh
We'll have
off
to
the
talk
Royal
about that.
Rumble. Yeah, I mean, so as far as right now goes, in case anything else falls through and no one returns our phone calls, we'll have a Royal Rumble post show.
That makes sense to me. And
Or
Robbie,
not.
here's what we're gonna do. Here's
Yo.
what we're gonna do. Because I know you need a hand to click the buttons.
I do.
So until I get my computer fixed or I get a new one,
No,
I'm gonna do the thing.
I'll do one
Because-
with you. I'll do the second one with you.
And then so
So it'll be actually 3
Okay.
clicks, but there's only 2 clicks.
let me stretch.
Yo, Nick.
Yeah.
This is how we end this.
That's how we do
clicks?
it.
How many clicks, Nick?
God damn it. 1, 2.
Yeah,
Hey,
baby.
God, I